now to the very latest on the Israel-Hamas war. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will have an overall security responsibility for an indefinite period of time in Gaza once the war concludes. This is his clearest indication that Israel plans to maintain control over the territory that's home to 2.3 million Palestinians. This comes as Israel's military says it's now fighting in the depths of Gaza City.
5:05, and with Israel now battling Hamas fighters in Gaza City, Palestinian civilians are fleeing to the south to escape the violence.
And in Israel, crowds gathered at the Western Wall to call for the release of those hostages taken by Hamas. CBS 2's Doug Williams joins us now live from Tel Aviv this morning. Doug?
Chris and Mary, good morning. Amidst all this talk of a ceasefire, we saw yesterday thousands of Palestinian civilians fleeing south, and while Israeli forces continue their efforts to take full control of Gaza. Israeli leadership contends it is possible to do both of those things simultaneously, but with no end to the bloodshed in sight.
Israeli forces say there's now fierce fighting in the heart of Gaza City, with just a few dozen Hamas militants left there.
We had a serious battle with a group of Hamas inside the school that they built tunnels in it.
Israel's military released videos of airstrikes on Hamas targets and also of this destroyed amusement park, showing what they claim are tunnels built by Hamas. The violence has driven civilians to the south of the region, some waving white flags as they flee their homes.
We want to live in our land with peace.
At the Rafah crossing, aid trucks lined up, while dozens more injured civilians and foreign nationals, including Americans, were allowed to flee from southern Gaza into Egypt.
We're going to be focused on getting folks out, getting aid in, and getting those hostages released.
Yesterday, President Biden told reporters he has formally asked Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu for a humanitarian pause in fighting.
I did ask him for a pause in the past.
Though Netanyahu has repeatedly rebuffed international calls for a general ceasefire until the hostages are released.
Tuesday night here at the Western Wall in Jerusalem, hundreds of Israelis gathered together in prayer, marking 1 month of the conflict.
We pray to have our loved ones come back today.
The prayers came 1 month after Hamas took more than 240 hostages in their deadly raids that also killed hundreds of Israelis.
And according to some reports, President Biden is said to believe that an agreement on pausing the war, even just for a matter of days, could result in the release of some of the Israelis still being held hostage by Hamas. And as the day goes on, we are expecting to learn a bit more about where the thousands we saw fleeing Gaza yesterday ended up in their continued search for safety. Chris and Mary.
All right, Doug, thank you. And Doug will continue reporting live from Tel Aviv in the coming days to give us the very latest on this war between Israel and Hamas.